I'm not really a genius because a lot of people when interview always say remember very very early time. But for me, I think up to 9 year old, the memory is very vague, and mostly is hear from my mother how I grow, what happened in my from infantry up to 9 year old. And basically, I was born in a business family in Shanghai. Then when born in 1937, that year the Japanese start attack China, and my grandfather just finished a new house less than 1 year, is bombed by the Japanese. Then the whole family moved to French concession, and where I don't remember. And for a short period at that time, I have another brother born. He's 3 years younger. Then when the Second World War started, I think it's in 1942, the family moved to an area called Shaofeng Gongyuan, that later became Changning Gongyuan. That area used to be French concession. You see, after Japanese start Second War, all the foreign concession stopped. And they even put all the foreign businessmen, everything in concentration camp. And then until the Japanese surrender, and that I was 9 year old. Then I remember when the Allies dropped the supplies to the concentration camp with the color parachutes, all these, and with the milk, everything. And one of the parachute is dropped on my father's land. According to the street from the concentration camp, my father owned a piece of land, planned to build a factory in the future, farmland. So all the farmers who use the farmland and with the neighbors, they subdivide the things. And I remember the farmer, the tenant of the farmland, and bring some second day, bring the chocolate, milk, all these things, and to our house, even a piece of a color parachute. And then afterwards, I also remember one event when the Allies bombed Shanghai. One of the bombs piece, you see, shattered the window, dropped on my younger brother's bed, but fortunately was not killed. And all things happened very quick. Just one evening, and suddenly everybody start to burn firecracker, everything. Oh, you say, we win the victory, Japanese is defeated. And that's the end of my real young age. That's the only memory I have. You see, for that my early years, then I have a better memory. I remember after defeat of the Japanese, then my father, we moved from the house we lived and to an old house in the old Chinese town. And my father bought from his uncle. It's an old settlement. It's a big house, have 8 or 9 bedrooms. Then my father, business-wise, everything get a little bit more prosperous. And but at the same time, I just start to fooling around. You see, not serious in study, always going out, play with the others. Then later, when I reached the second second year of the junior college, I started to play with my friends. At that time, my father also bought at the beginning, he bought a house in Hangzhou. It's a villa designed by the architect. Then we, every weekend, long weekend and summertime, we spend all the time in Hangzhou. That almost is the kind of the best time of my life because it's very innocent, do not know anything, and everything is happy, kind of. Then the communists come. Then the house in Hangzhou is occupied by the communists. First by the nationalists before they withdraw from China mainland. Then the communists occupied again. And then my father in Shanghai, in the near Shanghai Hongqiao area, that's a very popular, prestigious area. He bought another Spanish-style villa. And then at that time, second year, my father moved to Hong Kong. So almost my mother really don't know how to supervise us. So I just play with my friends, spend the time in the villa, and playing around. And at the end result, I failed every course in junior high school in that year. Then I have to repeat the class. And so after repeat the class, then I'm a third year in junior high school. And just one afternoon, the servants from the house come to the school. Say, my mother want me to go back to go home, not to attend the class. That's in May of 1950, I think. No, 52. Then it's raining, 是完美季节, you see. It's a rainy season in Shanghai. And so after I get home, my father and my mother just informed me. So some of my brother and sisters received a permit to go to Hong Kong to join my father. So I get home about 3 or 4 o'clock, and we took the like an 8 o'clock train to Canton without any preparation. And I even didn't bring much luggage because just bring some simple clothes just for traveling. And that's it. Because we think, oh, it's good to go to Hong Kong. We can buy everything new. So literally, I left Shanghai in a hurry without a chance to say goodbye to my friends, and I even have a chance to say goodbye to my childhood. Then once get to Canton, we have to go to Macau, because we cannot go to Hong Kong from Canton directly. Now once I arrive in Macau, and we have to be smuggled to Hong Kong. It's very, very dangerous. A lot of people, see, we're hiding under the fishing boat and go to Hong Kong. And I remember arrived at a very, very remote fishing village. And we have to jump into the water and walk shore. Then the smuggler then have a car prepared nearby and send us to the city and deliver us to my father. See, we arrive very early in the morning. Okay. You see, I left Shanghai in a hurry, and almost like overnight, or spent 2 nights on the way, and I arrived in Hong Kong, and to a completely different world as my youth time. Then once I arrived in Hong Kong, my father did not have anything because he lost everything. When he left China, he had to give up everything there. Arrived in Hong Kong, the whole family, he and the mistress actually live in an apartment, only have one room. So when we first arrived, we have 6 people crammed into one room. And but that apartment in a very plush area, because that's owned by my aunt's husband. You see, the family my father used before saved the life of that uncle's father. You see, because he smoked opium. At that time, smoking opium caught by the government will be shot. And my father used his relationship, get him out of Shanghai to Hong Kong. And they are Cantonese, old American immigrants. And then later on, so have some saving all these things. So they bought an apartment building in a very nice area, 在尖沙咀. Then, but we only occupy 1 room. See, but they don't charge us anything. So I can call the period in Hong Kong is the period of awakening. So from I don't have to worry about anything, have everything in the world, then suddenly found out in Hong Kong, I'm just a poor refugee, penniless. And my father do not have the energy and the time and resource to take care of me, actually. So I'm strictly on my own. In 4 years in Hong Kong, I changed 4 schools. No, 5 years in Hong Kong, I changed 4 schools. Then you know how good a student I was. Then, unfortunately, at that time, I have a policy to accept the overseas students to Taiwan. We don't have to pay tuition, and also lower the entrance grade. So I have an opportunity to go to Taiwan and receive a university education. So the memory of Hong Kong is not very good. And also, we like a refugee, like a person, citizen without any status. Is discriminated by the society, everyone, everything, you see. You see, when I was in Hong Kong, studying in the high school, and actually I'm hopeless, have no future at all. But at the time, Taiwan government, under the American aid program, to accept the overseas Chinese to Taiwan for university education. And we don't have to pay anything except our daily living expenses. The university will accept us and go to the university without paying any fee. They also will provide us a dormitory. Though the condition is not very good, but at least you don't have to worry about anything. And at that time, I remember went to Taiwan because I want to study architecture. That's affected because the villa in Hangzhou and later on the villa in Shanghai, both are designed by architects. And maybe of that reason, so I think architecture can be good. I can have a good future in architecture. Then after I arrived, I found out I still have to take another freehand drawing exam, and I failed. Then they said I cannot become an architecture student, and sent me back to another department. You see, in the engineering school, the only department have a vacancy is the hydraulic engineering department. So I spent 1 year in hydraulic engineering department, then apply to architecture school the following year as a transfer student. At that time, the architecture program in Taiwan is 4 years. Then that's why I spent 5 years to finish, because first year was not in the architecture program. But I'm very different from the other students. Because I transfer students, so I have more time than the others. But I start to take courses in the other department, study and take course in philosophy and language, all these things. That's very unusual for Taiwan students. I wasn't get a high grade in most of the subject, except in architecture design. But I never failed any course. So when I finish, I almost have 200 credits. Because every semester I took about 20 credits for 5 years. It's about 200 credits. In today, if I can get 2 degrees almost. In Taiwan, at that time, no have a policy of dual degrees. And after in Taiwan, I have no money at all. I don't even have the money to buy food. But somehow I'm very optimistic. See, when I have only a little money left to go to see a movie, but not enough money to pay next half month's meal, I just went out to watch movie with the others, other student classmates. Then fortunately I met a Catholic priest, and she know I come from Hong Kong, the English a little bit better. So he said in Tainan there's American Air Force Base. The Air Force Base have an American school. Then said the junior high school math teacher needs someone to correct the math paper. So asked me for an interview. I was accepted. So every week, twice I go to collect the paper and deliver back. And she paid me $10 American a month. At that time, it's a very good money, because the minimum I can live on $6 American a month. So my life ended better than all my classmates. And then the things also happened even in the last year, before the summer. You see, the Catholic Church, the priest told me they bought a piece of land, want to build a student center. Then the land is not big enough for their program, and their budget's not enough. They didn't commission me, but during that summer, I just come up with the idea. Use a diversity factor, the flexibility factor. So I designed a building smaller than required by original program. So it will be able to fit on the land and within the budget. And before I finished university, the Catholic Church give me the commission to do that project. And I used that project. I applied for university in America. So the university will give me special credit and accept me. That's how I be able to get a scholarship to Princeton University. That's very, very unusual at that time. You see. So one just after another, everybody say I'm lucky. But I think just not merely lucky. Just because the way I do things, the way I think, lead me into these opportunities. You see, my whole life, I never planned for my future. That's how I from Shanghai to Hong Kong, unexpectedly, not planned. Then from Hong Kong to Taiwan is also just by chance. Then that's how I went to America, by chance. Because I have no chance to go to America. First, I don't have the money. Second, I never was a real good student. But because my design of the student center, all these things, the American University gave me special credit to accept me. So I even don't know, see. At that time, no students, actually architecture students, ever go to a prestigious university. And not talk about with a full scholarship. I'm the first one in Taiwan, actually, I can claim that. Then once, even at the beginning, I even don't know Princeton University have the architecture program, because I went to American Information Center. From the book, found out Princeton University, the architecture department, have a largest amount of a percentage of a student scholarship. The reason is that their architecture school is extremely small. You see, my entering class only have 7 students. Then if they have 2 scholarships, that means they have a higher percentage than any other university. That's how I apply Princeton and get admitted. I never realized it was a very prestigious university, very, very difficult to enter. Then once get to the Princeton, and I still think Princeton very unique university. Everybody thinks it's a well-known university, a big university, but actually Princeton is a very small university. And don't even only have an undergraduate and a graduate school. And the undergraduate only have 4,000 students. And the graduate program only have 2,000 students. And they don't have a medical school, law school, management school. Basically, the undergraduate is the liberal arts college. And they also have engineering college separate. But the engineering college only have 500-600 students, the whole engineering college. Then went to Princeton, and I think that completely changed my future once I arrived. And very fortunately, once I arrived at Princeton, there's a old professor from France. And he's very unique, because at that time, all the architecture programs relate to international staff. But only the Princeton, that professor, he's the director of graduate study, emphasized on humanism. And that influenced me my whole life. And so most of my classmates really don't like him because they think that the professor is crazy because he never talk about architecture. But somehow we get along very well. Well, my way of thinking very close to his way of thinking. So not the case I want to please him. It just happened that way. So in the second year, he recommended me for fellowship. You see, in England, Oxford, Cambridge, and in America, for Harvard, for Princeton, Yale, the fellowship is the highest honor for graduate students. And I cannot apply for it. It has to be recommended by the professor. Somehow that professor recommended me. So even years later, when I asked for transcript, is not under the list of scholarship recipient, under the list of a Princeton appointment. That means I'm appointed scholar to Princeton University. See, and I don't think many. There's some maybe very rare students from Taiwan ever received a fellowship. They may receive a regular scholarship. Then after I finished from Princeton, and I went to Ohio to get married. See, I know my ex-wife in Taiwan. She is 2 classes behind me, but her family moved to Singapore and Malaysia. The family is her father is a quite prominent officers in Taiwan. So when his father moved to Malaysia, sent all their children to America for college. That's how my wife, ex-wife, went to America a year before me. Because as usually the Chinese, that's the way to separate the young lovers. Because once separate, they know I have no future, right? So that's the end of the love story. You can say that. But for some chance, I received a scholarship, right, to Princeton. So her father sent someone from to meet me in Hong Kong, say whether I need any help financially. You see, because actually I really don't need them now at that time. But they say once you arrive America, I shall continue to see his daughter. That's how I get contact with my ex-wife, and finally get married. When I get married, she still have 1 year. She's very young because she's 5 younger than me, and she's the last year in architecture school. So I went to Ohio to get married, and I stayed in Columbus, Ohio for 3 years. And both my children were born in Columbus, Ohio. Then after 3 years in Columbus, Ohio, because it's a small university town, also the state capital of Ohio State, then I decided to move to New York City, because that's where the action is. And once I arrived in New York City, and so I don't know how, but I worked for Philip Johnson. At that time, he is considered one of the most prestigious architects in America. See, working there. Then once I arrived in New York City, I think, well, I like to teach, but I don't know how to apply. So I just write to 3 universities that have architecture school at that time. One is the Columbia University, one is the Cooper Uni, one is the Pratt Institute. Pratt Institute is very unique. One time was one of the best architecture school, but they don't like the Columbia or these things, have the financial resource. But at the same time, just one day in the office, I don't realize. Usually you have to send an application 1 year ahead. But I just send just before the school start. Then after the school already started, one day I received a phone call from a department head, architecture department head. Say, I want to see you, have an interview with me. I say, I don't have any like a certification, proof of certification, or a portfolio with me. And he asked me, he just tell me, he said, go ahead, come to see me this afternoon, same afternoon. So I went to see the department head without any credential. But after talk only for about 1.5 hours, and he said, can you start teaching the class that coming Friday? It's to my surprise. So everybody later on say, I'm just lucky, But later on looking back, it was something very, very special. Because our department head made the phone call to my office. He knows that's the most prestigious architecture office. And that architecture office, if I work there, must be good, not ordinary, first. And the second, when I'm doing the interview, I mentioned I was a fellow at the Princeton University, because that is one of the highest honor for any university student. It's not for architecture, And then he talked about Princeton University. I know every detail, who's the professor there. So to his mind, I'm not fake anything. So he just take my words and say, why don't you start teaching? That's how I get into teaching. And another thing is that usually when you send a letter of application, they put on the file, review later. But when they need a faculty immediately, the letter is not in the file yet. So he just picked from the desk and I find it interesting, they give me a call. So not really go through the regular schedule. And after that, then following year, New York City have a called City College. It's a city, part of a city university system. But it was very, very prestigious. They start the architecture program, need a faculty. So I just send my credential because their pay is almost double than the Pratt Institute. Because I need the money. I'm a poor young architect in New York. And so I send the application. Then they accept me. Out of 40 applicants, they only take 3 people. And I'm the only one that's non-white and a Chinese, you see. But they accept me. Then after 2 years there, I promote from lecturer to associate professor, adjunct associate professor. Usually it took 9 years. And there's some special reason they promote me, you see. So I jumped from lecturer to associate professor in 3 years. At that time, I'm only 31 years old. That's another unusual thing. Then after City College at that time, because of that time I spent a lot of time in community work, all these things. And I have full-time job, part-time teaching job, and a lot of community work. So I never was home. And at that time, my wife finished university by living in New York City with 2 young children, right? She's not working. And I stay home but never see me. Of course, she created a lot of problem. So finally, I have an opportunity, an old classmate in Texas, Houston, Texas, doing very well. Then he asked me to move to Houston. It's a regular office, it's a regular job. See? So finally, I have a problem with the dean regarding some policy. At the same time, I have a family problem. So I decided to leave New York City and move to Texas. That's how I ended in Texas. Everybody wondered, how can a New Yorker move to Texas? Then in Texas, working in the office, there's 2 interns, graduate students, work as an intern at the office. They are graduate students at the Rice University. So then suddenly I feel I like to teach again. Then I apply a part-time teaching job at the Rice University. And I also was accepted because it happened at that time the director of the Rice Architecture School at the Rice was a Princeton graduate. And we are both the same students from Professor Laboratory. That's why they just accept me. Usually, it's very, very difficult to become a faculty at the Rice. And because I was already adjunct associate professor in New York, they just accepted me as adjunct professor. And I was the youngest professor, actually, among the faculty. So everything happened to me very unusual. Then at the Rice, I have one colleague teaching the same class. He's from Australia. When I first at the Rice, he's still a graduate student. Afterwards, we're teaching together same class. And that class, professor went to Harvard on sabbatical leave. Later on, he stayed at Harvard, became a dean of a school of architecture. But at Princeton, at the same time, I have in Houston, I do have some family problem, not only with my wife, because among the 8 children, I'm the one doing all right. So when my mother, younger brother, everybody come out of China, I took the responsibility of taking care of them. Then my income is not enough to provide all this, to support all the family. At that time, American personal income tax rate is very high. And with my wife working, we're already in 45% tax bracket. Almost every dollar, after some deduction, every dollar I make $45 to pay to the government. So you work harder, you pay higher tax. Then that's how I get into the real estate investment business. And everything going fine. until early 1980s, Americans have a first financial crisis called the saving loan crisis. Then I kind of failed because the bank increased the equity requirement. At that time, under the Carter, the interest rate is very high. Then I cannot afford to continue to pay the interest on my holdings. And so finally I failed. I lost everything. And at the same time, we do, because my wife always feel I only take of my family, do not taking care of her and my children. See, and finally, after financial problems, and my old friend in Taiwan, Chiang Mai and Philip Fei, asked me to come to Taiwan. And under my father-in-law's advice, he said, since I have marriage problems, separation maybe for a short period may be good. That's how I come to Taiwan. But only less than half arrived Taiwan. My wife sent me through the fax, said, don't come back, I'm filing for divorce. And that's how I ended my life in America and the end of my marriage. I think the way I left America and come back to Taiwan is even more dramatic than the time I left Shanghai to Hong Kong. Because when I left Shanghai to Hong Kong, I'm still very innocent, ignorant. And when I left American to Taiwan, basically I'm already middle-aged. And the business I failed, right? Have a family problem. Almost I can say I'm a person that already failed. So I have to go to Taiwan, almost rebuild myself. Because I went from American to Taiwan for two reasons. One, because I already have marriage problem. And the second, my business kind of failed. And so at my father-in-law's suggestion, asked me to accept a job to come to Taiwan. At that time, Fei and Chang, my old classmate at Taiwan, very good classmate, and they asked me to come because their office expand, need help. So they offered me a very good position, and in Taiwan considered relatively good salary. To American, is not high salary, but in Taiwan considered very, very high salary. But of course in Taiwan, everything is almost half as in America. So I'm doing quite nicely. Then after half a year arrived Taipei, and my father-in-law invited me to America for his 80th year's birthday. And I accepted that. After my wife learned that I accepted, will go to my father-in-law's birthday, he sent me a fax. Please don't go. I'm already filed for divorce. See, and at that time I was very, very down spirit. So after divorce, I stayed in Fei and Chang, and second year applied for teaching job at the Cheng Kung University, my alma mater, see, where I graduated before. But Taiwan have very, very unique requirement. all the professors must have a PhD. And the architecture school really don't have a PhD program. But in American professionals don't have a PhD. See, then they say I become if I'm not a recognized professor, I cannot supervise any graduate students, thesis, all these things. See, so finally I said I was already associate professor 30 years ago. Now you say I'm not qualified. I cannot be a professor. So finally, angrily, I left Cheng Kung University. And then went to Zhongyuan University. It's a private university. They can give me the title, but that title is not recognized by education department. See? But somehow, it's more convenient to teach at Zhongyuan because Tainan at the time there's no bus. Then you have to take airplane in the morning, stay there overnight, and come back. But university only pay for the train fare. So the salary I receive, actually, I have to spend mostly the traveling back and forth. See, so that's okay. So I moved to teaching at Zhongyuan University. And the way I teach is quite different from the others. You see, I'm very proud. You see, I taught the graduating class. At that time, I'm on 54 graduating class students. I'm in charge of 12 students. And that class later on have about 8 or 9 students went abroad for graduate studies. Among the 8 or 9, 5 was my students. And all of them went to the top university in America and England. The 5 students, one went to Harvard, one went to Yale, one went to Columbia, one went to UPenn, and one to England Ballet School of Architecture. That's one of the top architects in America. You see, all the other friends, I'm just lucky. I don't think just lucky. Because the way I treat the students I taught, it will be unique. So the American faculty can recognize it. See? And also, I never write personal letter to some of the American professors or department. Because I don't want to ask for a favor to accept my students. But a lot of my old colleagues in America, they are department head and a department chairman or dean of a school of architecture. Though I don't ask their favor. And they know me. So they would believe my letter recommendation have a more credibility than any other one. Because in Taiwan, everybody inflate the students so good or must take all these things. I never say things like that. So in Taiwan, I'm very proudly say, for 5-6 years, I recommend about 30 students to Americans. And some of not my students, my assistants at the university, and all the some college children, but all went to the top university. So now I must say, it's not just by luck, because I'm a credible person. I never said these things before. Now I think I should not be avoid to saying that. And I'm proud of that. And then at Fei and Chang, also I helped the office to enter many competitions. The percentage of winning the competition is 45%. And in Taiwan, generally enter the competition, the chance to win is about 15% or less. Of course, people always say, well, I'm just lucky you get that high percentage. So finally, I just tired of hearing this. And for some special events, I decided to leave the fair and check. So I stayed there only about 7.5 years. Then it proved one thing. After I left for 3 years, the office never won any competition. And then afterwards, I no longer work for architect's office, work for a development consulting firm. Then I found out my way of thinking and doing things quite different from people in Taiwan. So I'm frustrated. So finally, then just by chance I visit Bali. I think that's a lovely place. And that's a place I think I would like to live. And so originally I planned to my retirement here after a couple years later. So I come to look at the property, say I want to build a house here, all these things. Then just by events, someone supposed to bring me to see a property. But previous night, his wife had a birth to their child. So he unable to bring me to see the property. Then I walk around the street, saw a sign. Now there are a lot of signs say house for rent. At that time, there's almost none. Just see one. So I just picked the phone, called the person. They found that rent is not that expensive. But actually, for Bali at that time, it's not that cheap. But for Taipei, for American, this is very low. It's only $350 for a 2-bedroom house. Our $350 American dollars. That include the maid and the electricity. Then I found out I can get early retirement in America. From Social Security, I can receive $850 a month. And I only need about less than $600 to live in Bali. So I said, why bother to work? Because in Taipei, I pay high rent, everything, expenses. Then I come in April and I make decision in June. Then I quit all my jobs, commitment at the university, everything. I said, I'm moving to Bali. So I come here on July. And I stay here already 17 years. The one thing is, I think, very unusual to me. Everything is not planned, just by chance. Then I make the decision that I never regret. And though I make less money, but I can enjoy my life. Then after Bali, and I have to find something to do. And I started my interest in art, to thinking about art, and that's how I started to be more or less as an artist. And whether it's successful or not, for the others to say. Oh, I think I might just add, you see, during that period, after 2 years in Bali, one of my classmates in Beijing, asked me to, his architects will give me a little bit help. So I went to Beijing supposedly for 4 months. So make some money. Then just before I want to leave Beijing, I found out from the newspaper there's 798 factory. So I just visit there, and I find an interesting place. So I just used the money I made in Beijing, rent a space in 798. So you can see I do everything by chance, not really plan to. That's how I ended in 798 factory. Then later on, I found out that that period I spent half the time in Beijing, half the time traveling and in Bali. Then after 6 years, I think that place is no longer suitable for me. So I'll never go back.